Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Chrys King. I'm a shamanic healer, ascended astrologer, ascension guide, and psychic business mentor. And I have a very special guest here with me today. Her name is Jeannine Burgess. She is a visionary artist, yoga teacher, and holistic health mentor, and passionate explorer of the interconnectedness of creativity, health, and spirituality. Her journey began in art school, but her curiosity soon led her beyond the canvas to the transformative practices of yoga, which I consider to be art as well, which she has taught since 2007. This path sparked a deep fascination with holistic health, blending science-based fields like nutrition and fitness with ancient practices for well-being, and she and I have talked about many of those practices many times in our times together. Yet her creative roots remained strong, evolving into the vibrant mandala paintings that combined sacred geometry with her love of decorative art. And I even have some of these mandala paintings. One of them's behind me. It's of a solar flare. It looks like a big sun. It's yellow, and it's always on my altar. It's very activating for me. Her newest project, I am so excited to bring to you all and talk about, is the Wings of Transformation Oracle deck. And it's a culmination of her unique journey, inspired by her fascination with winged insects and their symbolic roles in personal growth. Jeannine has paired her distinctive artistic styles with years of research into sacred geometry and the natural world. Drawing from her diverse background, ranging from health sciences to yoga and visionary art, she invites users to explore the wisdom of aerial messengers and connect with the transformative power of nature. I love that, and I can't wait to receive my deck. Jeannine, welcome.
Thank you. Ooh, that was a lot.
It is. You've got a
Maybe I
lot
need
going on. You've got so many.
shorten my bio.
Yeah, you've got. Well, no, I think it's beautiful. I think it gives us a really firm understanding of what you're offering and what your soul mission is here. Because if anyone has seen your art, and I may share my screen here in a little bit, there's a lot going on there. Okay, there's about 1 million bios just in one of those art pieces. So what's really awesome is that you have paired together so many different modalities that really all culminate in this idea of healing and ascending and transforming yourself through nature and sacred geometry. And it's like you're helping people remember, and you're remembering also your soul mission and who you are on a soul level through the work that you do. So it's really beautiful.
It's interesting. I've kind of always been, it's been a challenge. I'll choose my words correctly right now. It's been a challenge for decades at this point of sort of weaving together all of these things that I have interest in. It's made me feel really scattered at times, because it's like I'm trying to grab at different aspects of things that I enjoy, things that really light me up, things that catch my interest, and they don't always seem related.
Yeah.
There's the art aspect, and that's been there since childhood. That's been always there. I've always been a creator. And then there's the health aspect. My mom was a registered dietitian when I was younger, and there's been that influence since childhood. So I've always been really curious about human health and nutrition and wellness and fitness. And then the yoga aspect came in, and that was transformative in its own way. And it brought me down these other paths. So it's like, I have these 3 tendrils, and how do I weave them together? And
Yeah.
they are starting to kind of come together. I mean, if you visualize like a braid, it's like, these elements really they're different, but they do play together, and they do help. Ziggy wants to join.
Yes, we're going to allow all of the animal companions into the space. Yes, because they love the energy we're creating here together. And Jeannine, you touched on a really interesting point, and this goes into the conversation around our soul mission and our codex, and we as light workers and starseeds and souls who are here on a mission or have a strong spiritual mission. I tend to find that the ones who are really embodied, the ones that really did come here from somewhere else and they came here to experience all that life has to offer, or they're old souls. There are so many lives we've lived on this planet and other planets and in different realms that, of course, in a lifetime where we are going to go through the greatest ascension this planet has ever seen, all of these different codes and modalities are going to come together. In my process, I have felt also scattered. I have a lot of, I'm a manifester in human design and have a lot of Gemini in my false matrix tropical chart. And so there's this sort of scattered energy that I feel as well. But just to give listeners some clarity and to give some context, you could say, well, the ascended astrology, how does that go with all of this shamanic plant medicine and psychedelics? And how does that go with all this business mentorship and making websites for people? It all actually coalesces in a chironic archetype, because Chiron was an astrologer, a plant medicine healer, a teacher, a mentor. So actually, I'm living out my archetype by doing all the things that he was interested in. He was also interested in music, which I am interested in as well, and coalesces here. What it sounds to me is that yoga is a practice of using your body to create sacred geometry and creating more health. And then the art is sacred geometry, and the actual visual, like staring at it and receiving the image of it, aligns the cells in your body the way that detoxing the body or working with certain herbs helps to bring you back into alignment. So can that beautiful Venusian, as we would call it in astrology, this Venus golden ratio symmetrical form that you're creating, this beautiful art, is also bringing us back into coherence, and the health and the diet also bringing us back into coherence. So wouldn't you say that you're raising someone's vibration, and these are all the ways in which you would do that? The physical substances in your body, the way that you form your body and the way that you treat your body and hold space for it, and also the giving something in the outside external matrix to inform the body and help it remember on a cellular level what that coherent state is like. So I appreciate you being honest and vulnerable about how scattered it can feel or be for you, because as light workers, we're like, how do we package this, in this Capricornian capitalistic society? How do we package this? And it's like, well, this package comes in different chapters, and there's different bonuses or gifts with purchase. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think that it goes perfectly together, but that's just me.
And it is, the way you speak of finding your soul path, it is, you follow those paths that really stimulate your soul and nervous system and inspiration. And sometimes you don't know where that path is going to lead you, but but you keep following it and knowing that maybe those paths will converge and it's going to open up into something else. And it is like it's like finding doorways in the forest, where you're just on the journey and exploration and seeing where things lead, and then all of a sudden there's this, oh, what is this? I can walk through this, and it's leading into something bigger and more connected, and finding soul family and leading you into this greater expression of your soul path.
It sounds like you're describing a psychedelic journey. So
a little bit.
And it's no wonder that many of the psychedelics and plant medicines we work with look like your art. Okay. So it's like, there's something that is, although we as humans can make it complex and give it all these different names and call it all this different stuff, it's really coming back into coherence. It's sacred geometry. It's light turning into sound, turning into form. And I think that what you're doing is like, they're showing me Hansel and Gretel right now, like following breadcrumbs back to remembrance, back to what you truly are. I mean, it's possible, Jeannine, that you are a light being from an upper realm that is made of geometry only, and that this is one of your physical expressions. But if I was to see your true form, it would look like a cymatic or mandala or sacred geometric shape. That's what I'm getting psychically right now, by the way. So I think that what you're doing is taking all these pieces that don't seem to go together and making them go together. That's what being the creator of our own reality is all about.
It is interesting because I think there was a resistance in my early life to, oh, that's math. I don't do math.
Yeah.
That's too complicated, but letting it arrive organically. And it's really only been, I don't know why it took me this long to actually like have the light bulb go off, but I've been really connecting with how the yoga practice, the shapes that you create with your body are geometry.
Yeah.
And it's not just the physical shapes like, oh, I look like a triangle. You know, it's like you're putting your whole being, your whole structure into this alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, the different shapes align you with different inspirations and intuitions. And it's like unlocking new insights when you're in these different structures within your body and your cells and your skeleton. And
see, that makes me want to do yoga. Okay. All this yoga where, you know, it's about burning fat or it's about being fit. You know how the Western and especially American market will take something so sacred and turn it into a workout routine.
Yeah, I was just talking with my students this morning about that. You know, and I teach at a gym and I love it. I love it. It is hot yoga and, you know, we feel like a wet rag at the end of it. And there's something really cathartic about that experience.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it's not done in that fashion. I just happen to enjoy it. My joints enjoy it. I like being really uncomfortable hot for an hour. But also bringing in those elements of that traditional practice. It's really transformative. It's not just a workout. If you want to work out, go do something else. There's a whole fitness industry around that. But yoga really is this coming back to yourself. And it's a deeply personal practice. It's a full body prayer.
Yeah. Ooh.
And so you're creating these geometric shapes with your body and you're restructuring your whole reality, maybe in just that moment, but you know, you keep adding the layers and it's a constant practice. It's not this thing of like, oh, I'm just going to get to this point and then I'm going to be done. I know everything I need to know about what yoga is. It's this constant practice and there's always something different to learn, something new, somewhere to grow. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like life, but yeah, it really changed my life personally. And,
well, you were talking about your early life experiences earlier, and you brought up math and how that kind of relates to the art that you do now. And I want to go back in time a little bit to your early life, because it's interesting to hear how these mystics and healers and artists, like what was going on in your early life. We tend to find certain threads. So take us back to your childhood, with your family, or your earth family, as I like to call them, and how you got to this point, like where yoga came in, how did it get into art? How did art show up for you even in your childhood? Let's go back there.
Art is one of those aspects that was always there. Both my parents were creatives. They had other careers. My dad was an engineer, so he was very left-brained. My mom was a registered dietitian, very left-brained, but they both had this right-brained creativity. My mom actually gave up her career to be a stay-at-home mom, and she ended up doing freelance calligraphy. So she was doing wedding invitations and things. She actually just messaged me yesterday. She's starting it up again.
Cool.
As a creative practice. And so they both had this creative aspect. So that part was never discouraged. We just always were creative. I don't remember a time that I wasn't coloring or drawing or doing something creative. my very early childhood, like single digits, was pretty normal. Except I was in this kind of weird religion. So that was a foundation. I was born into the Worldwide Church of God, which was kind of a cult. So I was,
Yeah, let's
which kind of goes back into, my dad, was sick from the time he was like an early teenager, tween into his teenage years. He actually had to leave high school because he was so sick. He had been poisoned by shoe polish in the 40s. They didn't wear gloves, so it got into his skin and destroyed his kidneys. And so by the time he was in high school, his kidneys were already dying. And he had a kidney transplant when he was in his mid to late 30s. And this is before my parents ever met. So he was dying. He didn't know. I mean, this was in the early 70s that he had this transplant. So it was brand new medical technology. The chances of survival were not guaranteed.
Right.
And he ended up living 23 years with this kidney that was transplanted. So I'm born after the kidney transplant, so I wouldn't be alive if not for that.
Right.
So that's sort of, I was talking with somebody earlier today about epigenetics and everything from your ancestors kind of coming in. Yeah. So it's sort of like how much from my, you obviously get energy from your parents, but also your ancestors. So how much of that energy, I was born maybe 8 years after he had this transplant. How much of that was still in his body,
right?
And I was the firstborn, so I get all the stuff,
Right.
So there was that. That's a layer before I was even born. And then because he was dying, he was spiritually searching. He was very lost. He didn't know if he was going to meet God. And so he was grasping at straws, and the Worldwide Church of God was kind of coming about. It originated in Pasadena, California, and I'm not really sure when it started. It sort of dissipated by the mid-90s. It started breaking off into subgroups as the leaders started dying. So it was started by
I thought these
Herbert Armstrong. Yeah. Yeah. So the guy that started it died in 1985, and then someone else kind of took the role. And then he passed on in the mid 90s, and then his son took over. So it sort of like started breaking apart as things changed, as they do. So I was kind of born into that, and it was very, both Old Testament, and also there were a lot of aspects of like Judaism and Seventh-day Adventist and some other things. I didn't celebrate any traditional Christian holidays. We were mostly adhering to like very Jewish holidays, but we named them other things. But it was still very Old Testament.
Yes.
So luckily the town that I grew up in was I grew up near West Hartford, Connecticut. So it was a very Jewish area. So we got all of those holidays off because otherwise it would have just been strange. But I didn't, the kids in school were like, oh, you don't celebrate Christmas? You don't celebrate Hanukkah? What are you?
Yeah.
So that was weird. I was always kind of the strange one. So that's another layer.
Yeah.
And my dad was a lot older, and he wasn't the healthiest looking because he was dealing with all of the immunosuppressants from his transplant just to keep the kidney alive. So he had all these other things like skin cancers and different ailments. And he ended up dying when he was 60. And it just kind of, his whole body just kind of shut down. It had enough.
Yeah.
And I was 16. And so that at that point, I feel like I had just been kind of chugging along and living a sense of normalcy. And then after my dad died, it sort of, that was my first dark night of my soul. It was like the first, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I feel like my whole nervous system shut down. We were talking about like neurodivergence and things. Was I before, or was it the trauma? Because PTSD and neurodivergence are kind of BFFs.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
was it something because I was a teenager, still brain developing? Was it something that, when you have a traumatic event like that, when your brain is still developing, part of your brain is still going to stay in that space.
Yeah.
So that's, I was out of my body for a good 3 or 4 years. I don't think I came back online until I was about 20.
Wow.
Like fully into like, okay, I'm conscious now. That's done. Like we've walked that path. We've transmuted some of that energy, but there's still part of my consciousness that's like still this 16-year-old that hasn't really transmuted all of this grief.
May I interject for just a moment?
Absolutely.
Because I had this thought, us psychics and mystics, we'll be in the shower, or we'll be in bed at night and just thinking about things, just like epigenetics. I'm making a course right now for my I Am the Medicine program, and there's a whole section that I put in there on epigenetics, and I was just editing it yesterday. It's just stuff like that, where it's the timing, the synchronicities are not an accident. And something that came through for me yesterday with a client was, I was thinking about this client, was that I wonder if myself and this client, because it resonated for both, that actually the person we were back then, like 16, 20 years old, before I had my first major dark night of the soul, before I had some of these awakenings, what if that version of me was like not an NPC, but was just so much of a human organism ruled by the astrological chart, just ruled by the genetics, just physically focused, and that trauma, that grief, that dark night of the soul that opens you up, allows more of the light of the soul to come in. And then after that, you're actually different. It's almost like a walk-in, except it's the soul that was already there to begin with that walked in more.
And I'm
that's
just like, as you say that, I'm seeing the quote of the crack is where the light gets through.
Yes, the wound is where the light enters you. Rumi,
It's
yes.
yeah, it's
Yeah, that is a
that's really
perfect
profound.
example of that,
Yeah.
because I feel in your process that you're bringing up something interesting here with like neurodivergence, because I feel more neurodivergent. I always have been in certain ways. My mom got me tested for ADHD as a kid, but they said I didn't have it. And she was like, really? So, but I feel more neurodivergent now than I've ever been. I feel more like on the spectrum in the past 10 years, or since I had my major dark night of the soul in 2012 and all of the awakenings since. I feel like a different person, and I feel almost that when the soul comes in more and when we have these awakenings, it actually does create autistic traits, or puts us on the spectrum, or creates neurodivergence that may not have been there at all before, or it was very subtle, because actually those neurodivergent traits and autistic traits are the future, or are new levels of intelligence. Like people think, wow, Christopher can't stay on one topic at a time. That's because I shift timelines and experiences, and I don't operate in linear time the way you do. So actually, I'm not scattered, and I'm not a squirrel. Okay. I'm just special. I'm actually more soul embodied. No, I'm being playful, but
No, it
there's
feels
something
true.
to that.
Absolutely. I agree with that. It is sort of like a vibrational mismatch. If you think of where our soul originates, I mean, it's a fractal, right? Our soul,
Yeah.
it just keeps going back and back and back and back until you're at source.
Yeah.
But the more of that soul that comes into this body, this reality is very heavy. And
Yes.
there are days that I am just very aware of how dense and how heavy it is. And
Yeah.
and sometimes it's that dissonance, that frustration of like, I just want to tear my skin off because it's so much. So I think you're
Yeah, I
very,
hear you, and I think you're
yeah.
speaking to a lot of the light workers and star seeds. I'm putting these labels on it because they do apply. But the awakened souls, the ones who are ascending, the ones who are conscious right now, who are listening to this, definitely understand this. At this process of the soul coming more into the body, and the more you get a feel for what the soul is, the more you're like, this is all so heavy, because the body then has to catch up. I mean, we are in the process right now of transitioning from carbon-based matter, which has that 666 code, to crystalline or plasmic light. That process that doesn't happen overnight and can happen across many lifetimes, actually, not just in one lifetime, can cause the ego to make up stories around it. Like, this is too heavy. I want to get out of this body, because now it has a taste of what it's like to not just be a body. And so we're all in that liminal phase, as we were talking about earlier before we got on here. This light workers, we're in this liminal phase of, we want to be of service. We're stepping up. We've been through our initiations, yet we're being put through even more initiations, because it's never going to stop. And not that that's a bad thing. It's just the frequency keeps raising. So we have to keep surfing bigger waves as they come in. We've got to adjust on our board differently, because this wave is even bigger than the last one. And it makes us an even better surfer energetically every single time. But, at 16 to 20 years old, you didn't know all this. I didn't. I didn't know about ascension and all of that until I already went through the dark night of the soul and got on the internet and was like, somebody help me. Third eye awakening symptoms, Kundalini awakening. I was really hoping for that. But you're bringing up an excellent point, that the wound is where the light enters you. And once that light enters you, you're different from that point forward. Your physical makeup is different. Your body starts to purge things over many years. Like, my skin breaks out a lot, and I'm so healthy. Like, it pisses me off sometimes, but it's lifetimes and past lives and genetics clearing through my body, because my little brother has it also, is the same skin stuff going on. And I can feel that there's something really energetic happening, and that this is going to take a few years to work through. And so it's like, I'm doing everything I can do, but also this is a multidimensional process. And also, I feel slightly different. The way that walk-ins feel, like, that was a totally different human than the person I am now. And although I feel like there was a process, it wasn't overnight like a walk-in can happen. I feel like since my awakenings, I do feel different. I look back at those times and think, I don't even know who that person was or why that person would choose some of those things. There are 80-year-olds who are the same as they were when they were 30,
Right.
I know
Right.
many of them. Okay, they're in my family, or my birth family, where they're generally
Same.
the same person, just with more wisdom. Okay. I feel like we are different people, and our human always had the templating. Like, if I'm not mistaken, you have Taurus rising.
Yes.
Okay. Look at Gemini brain go.
I
So
know, you're so
Taurus
good.
is, Taurus sun, Aries, or sorry, Taurus rising, Aries sun, Capricorn moon.
You got it.
Man, when I was
So
younger,
good.
I would actually see people's charts, like, almost
Yeah.
psychically above their head, almost like a Star Trek. Like, I had special glasses on. Their chart would pop up here, and it would just start turning,
It's
and I would see
amazing.
it all. And I would be like, Christopher, do not discriminate, or, I see them for who they really are. Don't just see them for their chart, okay? But I couldn't help it. It was just always there, just always, okay, that's the Aries in her, that's the Taurus in her. And so in the false matrix tropical chart, you've got a lot of Taurus energy, which is very artistic. But in your ascended matrix true sidereal chart, your sun is in Pisces. Your rising is in Aries, but your sun is in Pisces. Do you want to talk about true multidimensional art? Okay, like, Aries is always going to have something to do with the body, and your chart can't escape it. In each chart, there's Aries energy, which is that yoga, hot yoga kind of energy, that fire. But with Pisces there, I also feel at some point the light entered you, you shifted, and of course it turned into some type of multidimensional expression of art. And I want to go back to, your early 20s. Take us back there, where you started to get back into your body. and what that process was like, and just take us from there.
I started really diving into my physical health at that point. When I was around 20, I started really exploring. I had been vegetarian since I was like 14 or so. I had always wanted to. Since I was 9, I wanted to stop eating meat. It just didn't feel right. And I've gone back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm not a vegetarian at this point. But I'm very selective.
Yeah.
And I'm really at this point, honestly, my digestion is shifting, and all I want to do is just eat melon all the time. Yeah. Coming into this light body. But
yes,
I started
ascension symptom.
I started exploring raw food diet when I was around 20. And I just heard something yesterday, and it really clicked for me about how when you start cleaning up your system, you start clearing your pineal gland, that crystallization that happens.
Yes, the calcium.
And so you're kind of connecting with your consciousness a little bit more as you clean up your system. So
absolutely.
I went from being outside my body, just existing in this bubble, like things were happening to me. I wasn't an active participant in my life.
Right.
To then really dialing in, and I started exploring movement, just dabbling in yoga. I started just dipping my toe in, and that was, in 99, 2000, before there were yoga studios on every corner. So it was a little harder to find. But I really started feeling in that aspect of diet and movement, and I felt like things really connected, and clarity and inspiration. And I was writing poetry, and I was like, I felt like my consciousness was actually fully in my body.
Yeah.
And then, there's highs and then there's dips. And
Tell me about it.
I went, as high as I could go. And then I crashed down, and my mid to late 20s were a lower dip. And I didn't really come out of that until I was in my 30s. And there was, I did my yoga teacher training. I had been married at that point. So when
did you do your yoga teacher training? What age?
Right around my Saturn return.
That was what I was looking for.
So yeah, I had been married. I got married when I was 26, and it was not a true soul authentic expression. We're still in contact. I'm still like friendly. We were never supposed to be married.
Yeah.
But he was the one that actually, I had been thinking about going to do my yoga teacher training, and he was like, no, you're ready. And I was like, I don't know. You're ready. So we had only been married for a year when I did my teacher training. And when I got back from the teacher training, I kind of knew that the marriage was over.
Yeah. Wow.
Because, and that's kind of the joke in the yoga community. It's like, oh, go on yoga teacher training and then get a divorce. Like It just changes you.
It does.
But I was 27, and so it was like right at the peak of my Saturn return, and I was in this marriage that shouldn't happen. And everything just kind of like all at once, boom, boom. So that was my second like major dark night, because I was divorced on my 30th birthday. So that closed out my Saturn return with a nice divorce.
Wow.
So that was fun. And then
that's pretty textbook though. Like
and
when
it was
we talk about Saturn return, and you've got the moon in Capricorn, and moon is our most false matrix self. So there was this really getting hit hard by the Saturnian Capricorn energy. And I feel like when I see it psychically, there's so much Pisces energy in you. There's definitely that Aries energy there. But now that I think about that Pisces aspect of your true sidereal or ascended matrix chart, it's like every step of the way, your process the more you've embodied your soul, the more you've come more into that ascended matrix templating, or it starts to influence more, show up in your process more. And I feel like yoga was another expression of that, because it's like embodying that light instead of just hypothesizing about it mentally or getting into meditation and going and finding it. It is truly bringing it down into the body and getting into the sacred postures or geometry, the mudras, the postures that allow they're showing me that that baby toy or that toddler toy where there's these shapes and there's these holes that match the shapes, and you're supposed to put the object, like the star and the ladybug and I had it when I was little. You're supposed to put it in those shapes. It's like once you get the right shape into the right, that matches it and it resonates, there's this completion point, like a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, after I did that, when I really started diving into that, and after I did my teacher training, it absolutely changed me. It unlocked this whole new realization of authentic living, authentic expression. And it is still a very deeply personal practice. And the physical practice has ebbed and flowed over the years. It's, the movements are not the focus. Yes, they are creating geometry and you're moving your body in different ways to send energy, because you're always creating energy in your body. So you're sending that energy into different parts of your body through that movement, because you have this physical body that needs to explore and flow. Otherwise it's stagnation. So you're moving your physical body to keep it going. Yeah. Right. But the movements themselves, they don't have to be strenuous, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like, I want to push myself until I feel like I'm going to break. Other times it's just like a gentle, just moving and flowing. Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah. So and that's where it's deeply personal. I think maybe my Aries really wants to find that fire, find that like struggle, like I have to like tear myself open.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. So tell me how you got into the art that you currently create and have been creating for several years. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Those listening on Spotify and Apple, you're not going to be able to see this, but if you go on YouTube, let's see.
Although you've been doing videos on your Spotify, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Oh, yeah. Yes. You just reminded me that's a thing.
The mandalas started as, I started that when I was around 25, just playing, just making shapes.
Yeah, this is the one that
I was in a space where I didn't have a lot of room to create, so I was just using colored pencils on paper. But playing with shapes, playing with color, I think I did a series of mandalas that were just the months and just capturing the energy of each month. And it was, even though it was a really simple project, and I want to revisit it, I think, where you just capture the energy of how does January feel? How does May feel? What is the essence of it? And then translating it into a geometric, abstract shape and color composition.
Yeah.
And there's just something really satisfying about it. And I think it's because they're very cymatic. They look like the structures in our body. We love circles. Our body loves moving in circles. Our body loves looking at circles because we are made of circles. Our cells are circles.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like just looking in a mirror. So.
And these were all done by hand. I just want people to know these were not made on a computer or anything. And when you see them in person, you can tell because you can see brush strokes and things like that, which is really cool.
And all the human flaws and everything. But
they do. Enough, but honestly, like some it looks so perfect to me from the naked eye that we do have to let people know this was not made by AI and it was not made by a computer. This is done by hand, and so there's an energy to it. All the intention that you put into it, there's medicine in that. There's an energetic frequency in that.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Because our body responds to not only the shapes, I mean, you were talking about sound and movement, but your cells will respond to color as well. When you eat a fresh raspberry, your cells respond to the vibrational structure of that color because
Right.
color is on the vibrational spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're eating it and the inside of your body it doesn't have light. You're not getting photons in there, but your body's still responding to the vibrational energy of that color. So looking at those colors, that's why generally like you'll paint a kitchen yellow because it stimulates your solar plexus. If you paint your kitchen
never thought about it
blue,
that way.
it's not gonna make you want to like eat a big meal.
Right.
But you put your nice blues and greens into a room that you want peace and soothing, so a lot of meditation centers have that really peaceful sage green, so the colors can change your energy just by being in their presence, which is incredible. So that's where art is just so powerful, and people might not appreciate it as much as music, as far as that vibration, taking in that vibration, because music kind of takes over your whole body.
Right.
Whereas
Yes.
visual art is a little more subtle, but it is still, when you're in the presence of a big painting, you're still feeling that energy, but you kind of have to be in a space where you're sensing the subtle a little bit more.
Yeah, and tell me, this is coming through really strong, is tell me, about what it's like being an artist and a spiritual artist in the age of artificial intelligence.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, when it first came around and I was seeing a lot of it pop up, I was like, this is insulting. This is terrible. This is gonna just ruin it. But I've gotten a little, I've softened a little bit on like it's gonna steal my job.
Right.
One, AI does not have a soul.
That's right.
Two, in the grand scheme of like being a traditional artist and selling your artwork, most people aren't going to be putting large prints of AI art on their walls. So one of the benefits of being a physical visual artist using paint and brushes is that I have physical paintings that have all the brush strokes, have all that human energy.
Yes.
That an AI print, even I make prints, but the original art has its own energy because you have, as the artist, has put in hours of work and literal blood, sweat, and tears sometimes.
Yeah.
All of that energy is going into that art, and you better than anyone knows that that energy is in that painting now.
That's
and
right.
even if that person viewing that art isn't aware of what is going on, that energy is still there and it's still flowing through them, whether they recognize it, whether they can feel that subtle energy or not.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that from something that comes through from a prompt.
Right. And I don't feel that, whether it's writing or art or all of that, I use AI when I need to, but also there are times when, if it's meant to invoke a feeling or create some type of healing experience, there's something lifeless there, and there's a ceiling. There's a point that it won't go past. And so I feel like what you're doing is creating art that is not only vibrationally symmetrical, because AI could do that visually, but there's an energy behind it as well. And your art is so colorful and so resonant. I'm going to share my screen again, because I also want to talk about these insects down here, because these are some of my favorite ones, are the ones with the insects on it, which I find so beautiful because they are sacred geometric
What's
creatures.
interesting that I've noticed with AI art is it kind of, who knows how much better it's going to get, because it's always progressing, but it kind
Yes.
of bumbles the, as I'm looking at the bumblebee, it does not grasp true sacred geometry. It can approximate, but the
Right.
geometry, that actual symmetry is not there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what you kind of, I as a painter and someone that creates my own images, I can recognize an AI art pretty quickly, but
Yeah. Yeah.
for the non-creative, they might not recognize it. But some of the telltale things are, if that geometry is not symmetrical, that is not created by someone who's intentionally creating this geometry. That's just a computer, because it's
Right.
just ones and zeros.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these are just incredible. I recognize that one, of course. That one's on
Yeah.
Brandon's book.
Yeah.
There's something very activating, and also you have an oracle deck called
Yeah.
Wings of Transformation, which is coming out. Tell me about that.
That's where the bugs, that was the original purpose of the bugs. They, yeah, I know, affectionately the bugs,
The bugs.
because they are, it started, and I've talked about this in a couple different places before, but it started with a painting that included moths. And then I started kind of branching out and really exploring the different species. And it took on an energy of its own. It was a very organic
Yeah.
step into creating this oracle deck. Originally, it was maybe going to be an animal deck, and then an insect deck, and then specifically a winged insect deck. So that's kind of the progress to that.
Yeah. They're
And then the symbolism of the insects is metamorphosis and transformation. So they're just very deeply symbolic. A lot of them go from this larval stage into this winged state. I mean, they all do. And I think the lepidoptera, the butterflies and moths are the most
Yes.
dramatic. We always look at them because they go into this cocoon and they just kind of
Yes.
turn into goo, and then they come out as these beautiful creatures that don't live very long. And they're really only there to just breed and create the next generation, which is very
It's just
symbolic on its
existence.
own.
Yeah, just
but
like existence itself, just like art.
yeah,
It's there to be created. It's not there to, have this cause and effect, this Saturnian thing. Here's the art. It's supposed to make you feel better. It's not supposed to do that. It just is.
yeah,
And we find such beauty in it, just like butterflies. They're one of the greatest shamanic animal spirits and totems and spirit signs. Everyone, anytime people see a butterfly, that's my grandmother. So there's something really beautiful about that, because it really represents that alchemical process of the dark night of the soul, which is going into the chrysalis and turning to goo, and the turning into an entirely different organism. Look how we're circling back here. Oh, that's funny. Spirit is hilarious with that. Look how we're circling back here to how our conversation went into the dark night of the soul, and how we are actually different organisms when we come out of that. You have become such a different being since the dark night of the soul, or dark nights of the soul, that you went through and I have been through, that have actually turned us into new beings and new creatures, if you will. Like we're a higher manifestation of of what we once were, where we have these wings now. We're able to fly. There's a whole new level of beauty that we're able to operate within, and level of freedom that we're able to operate with as well. But us light workers and starseeds, many of us, we turn into a butterfly, but then we go back into a chrysalis to turn into an even bigger and more beautiful butterfly. It's like, it isn't just a caterpillar and a butterfly. The caterpillar is our most asleep self, before we have the awakenings, I feel. But
it still has purpose though, right? You're setting the foundation when you're in that caterpillar phase.
yes,
Energetically, metaphorically,
absolutely.
you're gathering what you need to build that structure to transform.
Yeah.
Without that, you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have the strength, you wouldn't have that knowledge, the wisdom.
And I think that having the insects and the sacred geometry for a shamanic person like myself, or someone who is creative and in tune and awakened, it activates something within them. So it's also really brave to create an oracle deck in this day and age that is made by hand, and all of the messages come through and there's such thought and intention behind it in this age of AI, because I'm sure there are tarot and oracle decks being made left and right now just using AI. So
It's really easy to create a deck yeah.
so I'm excited to
I
get
probably
my
could have
wings of transformation.
It's taken me 4 years to get to this point, and they're at the printer right now. They're about 4 weeks out. So they'll be shipping soon. But yeah, so 4 years of my life painting these by hand,
Wow.
looking up all of the inspiration, writing everything. So yeah, it's been a process, and it could be, if I used that tool, I could have had it done in less than a month.
I know.
But that's, and there were actually people that reached out to me asking, like, I just want to make sure you didn't use AI.
Yeah.
So, so there are people that want to support that. They, for whatever their reason, whether it's the environmental impacts or
Right.
just they would much rather a human created product, which I really think, and I when I was marketing my deck, I was following a lot of other deck creators, and I was following deck creators that are not using AI. They are creating by hand.
Yeah.
Whether they're hand painted or they're digitally painted, but they are creating these with their own human hands and
Right.
not utilizing the AI. And one of the creators that I followed was talking about how, why would you want an oracle deck that is getting information from an AI? Like, these things should come from
Yeah.
a human's own intuition.
Right.
You're getting this guidance, and I just feel like an AI created oracle is going to be a little empty,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think there's a purpose.
people can do what they want.
Yeah, they can do what they want, and there's a purpose for some AI images and things like that for quick posts, or something on a website that's cute, a little icon or something if you want to. But for something that is so special and so sacred, talking about this sacred geometry deck, there does need to be some energy in that. And, in our ascension process right now, we talk a lot about the bifurcation of the timelines and of the earths. And I feel that, the direction that we're actually going in is that technology will go with us into 5D, but it's more crystalline technology. It's technology it's still creation, and not letting something artificial create for you. There's intention behind what we're doing. And so I feel that although AI is not inherently bad or wrong, it can be used and will be used in the 3D timelines and on 3D Earth for certain agendas, and to basically eradicate the creative force that is within us, to basically create that sleeping zombie, which the matrix absolutely feeds off of, or the false matrix, I should say. And the organic or ascended matrix really values this type of work. And so I feel like you're ahead of your time. People like us, we're ahead of our time. We're waiting for the world to catch up with us, because we've been doing the work. It's just everything out here is taking a lot longer, as I talked about in previous episodes. So before we end our time together, I want you to share with us how you feel your art and sacred geometry and the creations that you have brought into existence, how they can help someone heal or ascend or tap into their higher timeline.
I think it helps you connect deeper into yourself. Um, you're not going to heal just by looking at a piece of art, but it might allow for stillness to come in. It might put you into a meditative state that allows inspiration to come in, that guidance from your higher self. And the same is true with the physical practice. Putting yourself into those geometric shapes, it quiets the mind. You know, it's like the second Yoga Sutra, yoga is the stilling of the thought waves.
Mm.
So that stilling of the thought waves, that chatter is like the muck. It's like just the cloud, the black cloud on your mind.
Yeah.
And if you clear that away, the inspiration bubbles to the surface, the image of a lotus coming through the mud. And that's what connects you into your higher self. And I think, the way you teach, you are the medicine. It's that connection to your deeper self, that higher self, that allows you to find the guidance to, I need this thing to connect me deeper into, it might be an herb, it might be a way of moving or eating or connecting, but that stillness is first. And I think these are tools to help bring you into that stillness so that whatever needs to come to the surface can come to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like looking through a clear water, if it's stirred up, you can't see the bottom, but letting that muck settle.
Yeah.
And then you can see all the way through to the bottom. There it is.
Yeah.
And just finding that like inspiration that you can take in and
I
transmute.
feel like your art is very shamanic. It's very, it has remembrance codes in it due to the sacred geometry and the intention that you put into it, the animals, the insects, the colors. There is something that it does just looking at it, maybe on a cellular level, but having the actual painting, for those who buy your actual paintings and have them in your home or in their home or their studio, there's an energy to that. It's like you've encapsulated aspects of your soul mission, because what I'm seeing psychically as well is like, it feels like you have healed and progressed and transformed yourself through this art. So while it was being created and it will help others, it is a time capsule or a living expression and representation of the process that you've been through in this lifetime as a healer, and I would say a shamanic archetype as well. So that it feels like there's a lot of
It's interesting.
beauty in this physical art and in the art that you've created that can actually be very healing to those who have the eyes to see it.
Mm.
Hmm.
I
Because
feel
now
that.
in this age, anyone can see it and say, oh, it doesn't mean anything to them because AI created it. But for those who have the eyes to see it, it will do something for them. That's why we're living in a time where, us light workers, star seeds, we may not feel spiritual practitioners, creators who are doing this full time. We've devoted our whole life to this. We don't feel seen by the masses. We don't feel seen by the world a lot. And we were never meant to be seen by them. We were meant to be seen by the ones, whether you call them chosen ones, awakened ones. I really don't want to turn it into some class of people that is above anyone else, but just those who vibrate in those frequencies. And I think that wow. Uh, do you connect with Series? Do you connect with Sirius, Sirius, or Syrian beings? Has that
I
ever come
haven't
up?
I haven't really given it any thought. I
S- Your
Have
art
always
is very
I've been curious.
Syrian, is what I'm hearing.
Interesting.
And
I'll have
that
to dig a little bit deeper into that.
I feel that Lyran or Syrian star seeds are really like your clients, the ones who really vibrate with this.
Hmm.
Not the only ones. There are other races of insectoid beings as well that are
Of
connected in with
course.
this. There's something very cosmic and galactic about what you're creating. And we are not always meant to know that. We're meant to just be human, paint with the brush, post it online, get on social media, eat the food, play with the cat. We're meant to be human here, and
Yeah.
maybe in a medicine journey that will reveal itself to you, or as you're about to transition at 107 years old on your deathbed, you're going because you've cleaned your body out so much, Jeannine. You're just going to live so long. But all of a sudden, your Syrian star family will come in, and you'll be like, "Holy shit!" I did. Why'd you all wait until the very end to tell me this? But because it wasn't about that. You're meant to
Mm.
be human. You're meant
It's
to be here.
remembering and kind of connecting.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I'm coming into. I've battled a lot of like, oh, I just want to go home. But,
Okay. So yeah,
we are
this.
here to experience. And, I spent a little bit of time in the past couple years listening to some of the Dolores Cannon
Yeah, three
transmissions
waves of
and
volunteers.
all of that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the most recent one that I listened to.
Yeah.
And that the last 10 chapters of that book really resonated and
Uh,
triggered something in me. And yeah, we are in a physical body to experience. That's why we're here. We're here to experience. And it doesn't have to be this like struggle all the time, but that struggle is what kind of levels us up. Getting something else?
oh, sorry. Yes. I'm hearing you. I'm like, it levels us up, but also there's this very tall, very slender, blue skin looking, bluish being here. And I keep hearing Sirius B. Okay.
Interesting.
So we're just bringing that in for you. And so we want you to know, oh my goodness. Okay. Transmission incoming. So, Jeannine, we want you to know that the work that you do is not meant to just be purchased, and it's not meant to be seen by everyone. And this conversation has been really beautiful. And we know that sometimes it's hard to put all of this into words and to really bring what you've come here to do and put it into words, which is hard for your human because you're so good at putting other things into words and into packages. But this cannot be put into packages because the work that you do is meant to unravel the idea of a box or a square or a cube or an actual package. It is meant to be received in all the different ways. Your work is transmissions. You are bringing something forth from other realms, from seventh and eighth dimensional realms. You're actually bringing those frequencies onto this planet through your art. And there are others who've come here who are part of your soul family who are doing the same in their own way. You live with one of them.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but
Yeah, you want to talk about my third dark night of the soul right after I met Ben?
yeah,
Like, I
yes.
mean, you
Oh my
told
God,
me
isn't
it
he
was a
Lyran?
Kundalini. I think he's
You may want to
Arcturian.
talk to him about like Lyra and Sirius and
There
all of
is a
this stuff.
connection with Lyra, but
Yeah. We
you'll
have
you'll
multiple. We
you'll
have
talk with him
multiple.
soon.
Like,
But
yes, I will. And we
yeah,
have multiple starseed lineages that we can resonate with because, like, I come from the plasma light realms. I come from this big violet ball of white light. Well, I also asked Spirit at one time, where's all this Pleiadian stuff coming from? And they said, well, that ball of white light, that plasma being, is also incarnated in the Pleiades. So
it's the
you could,
fractal. Yeah.
I could say that I'm a Pleiadian starseed, but also if I were to go to the Pleiades and go into that body, that person is saying, I'm a plasmic starseed. So it's like
Yeah.
it's not even that the Pleiades comes first and then the plasma realm. It's all happening at once.
Mm,
So I have these parents in the Pleiades that consider me family,
nice.
but
Nice.
also I have these connections to other star systems because that plasma being that came from this thing called Mama, which is what they call it, also incarnated into these other realms and is incarnating here as well. So I do have this connection, but it's not linear. It doesn't go back in that way. It's much more of a web. It looks much more like how all of the different fractals of your art all lead back to that central point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Ties
it all in a nice little bow.
Look how we've come full circle here.
I know. It's amazing.
So, Jeannine, is there anything else that's on your mind or you want to share with the collective about the current energies that are happening on the planet right now, or your process, or anything else before we go?
I think right now, this is the year of really stepping into your power and living your own true, authentic self. And that might involve needing to get into that stillness. If that feels like something that you're called to, or feels like that resonates, of stepping into your power. And, power doesn't mean control. It just means like you are harnessing your being and doing the work that you are meant to do while you're here experiencing this physical body.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're sort of shedding, those layers of density, of just needing to do the job and make the money. And stepping into something. Yeah, I know, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, we're all feeling
it. But there's this knowing. I wake up in the middle of the night with a panic sometimes of like, oh my God, the postal fees have gone up. But it's everything, right? It's like, oh. But then there's that higher self that's coming in and saying like, just be. You are where you need to be. And that can be challenging to sit with. But I would encourage sitting with that and following your inspiration, following what really feeds your soul.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
thank
important.
you for being such an inspiration in that, and for following your soul mission. This is really beautiful, and I appreciate you joining me for this conversation.
Thank you.
It has been very activating. I've learned a lot. That's part of the reason I do this, is that, it's like a free course. I'm just kidding. But it's
great.
I'm so excited to get my Wings of Transformation deck, and I'm so excited to see what you create next. So for those of you listening, if you're interested in working with Jeannine or purchasing some of her art, you can go to JeannineBurgess.com. We'll put that in the show notes below.
I want to share a code too.
Yeah.
Do you have a code that you use for, do you want to just use ascension?
Oh, you mean
we can do, for
purchase?
my, I'll do 10% off for anyone that uses the code from this podcast. And
well, shit fire,
if
my
you're,
mom would say. That's so, that is so generous of you. So yes, if you want to put maybe just ascend, ASCEND,
all caps.
Cool.
And I'll set that up today.
Very cool. So anyone, when will this be? Will this be available for oh, cool.
Forever. Yeah.
Well, shit fire. My mom is so excited about that. So for those listening, go to JeannineBurgess.com. And if there's anything you're interested in purchasing and any art that you're ready to get activated by, you'll get 10% off by using the code ASCEND, ASCEND, all caps. Thank you, Jeannine, for your generosity and for being of service to the collective. So also, I'll put your social media in the show notes below so people can go and follow you as well. If anyone has any questions for me or wants to work with me, of course, you can find me at chrisking.com and ascended-astrology.com and medicinealchemist.com. Okay, talk about being all over the place. So I offer transformative healing medicine retreats, microdosing packages, ascended astrology activations, ascension guidance, and business mentorships. I also make websites for spiritual entrepreneurs, mystics, conscious business owners. Jeannine and I are here to support you in your ascension process. We're all in this together and tapping out of the false matrix, tapping into our soul mission, and living our highest timeline. We appreciate you all joining us for this episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast, and we'll see you all next time. Love you all.